104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the
are.
studio. It is episode 115, Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. This week was my pick, a documentary that Jay actually suggested to me to watch.
Yeah, you adopted
so I
it.
stole it as
my
my
idea.
pick, but it was a good idea. It's called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? Basically, back in the 90s, Pepsi
I remember this contest.
Ran a contest where you could use Pepsi points to get a bunch of stuff. And one guy took that as you could actually get a jet. But before we get into that, this was an interesting documentary for both Jay and I because we give away stuff all the time. And with what we do, giving stuff away, concert tickets, tickets to Chiefs games, $20 certificates to restaurants, CDs, records, whatever it is, we have a very serious and strict set of rules that we must adhere to, because you can get in a lot of trouble if you don't do it on the up and up. For example, when we say we randomly pick a person, we randomly pick a person. And it's not, we have rules as far as you can only win a certain amount of times and all that stuff. So when you're thinking about us talking about contests, understand that, yes, we are on the up and up because we don't want to get sued like what happened in this documentary.
Because we can't afford it. Pepsi can afford it.
We have Pepsi. Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Can't afford it.
We definitely can't afford it. So we got to be on the up and up. Let me ask you this: in all your time in radio, whether it be here, Jay actually worked in other stations before this one. Did you have any kind of crazy contest things that happened to you that you were like, "Oh my god"?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's hear it.
Oh man, I in New Orleans we had a contest we ran where it was. Somehow a bunch of listeners won a thing, and we were going to drive them around all day, pick them up at a golf course from some event, party bus, bar hopping. At the end of this whole shindig, listeners, us on the bus, they dump us all off at a bar. At this point, completely wasted out of our minds at the end of the day from drinking all day. We go into the bar, private listeners. I get caught in the bathroom, I think in the boys' bathroom or girls' bathroom. I get caught with my girl, basically with my girl in the bathroom stall. Security comes in, throws us out. All the listeners are out there in the lobby. You can't kick him out. He's Jay Stevens. I'm like, shh. Next day, I get called. On the next Monday, I get called into the big boss's office, and they said, as rock star of it, to get caught doing what you were doing in the bathroom, we have to reprimand you. So we have to suspend you for a week without pay. So I got suspended for a week without pay, but they screwed up and they ended up paying me anyway. So I got a paid week off, baby.
That's so funny. On those lines, we used to do bus trips, and I can't even tell you how many times we had listeners get kicked out of events, Chiefs games.
Not a good idea, man.
Too wasted. And if I got everyone back on the bus after that night, wherever we were, it was a success. And I can't tell you how many times we left someone because they either got arrested or they just didn't come back to the bus. And I was like, I'm not your daddy. Now, that was a really tough life lesson for a kid in his early to mid 20s that had just taken this job on. And then his boss was like, I don't know anything about that. You go be the chaperone. So here I am, 24, 25 years old, trying to tell these dudes in their 50s, hey, don't drink, don't do this. And they're just looking at me like,
see
whatever,
you,
kid. If you ever want to know why we don't do bus trips all that often, it's because I don't want to be somebody's babysitter. And unfortunately, when you mix in alcohol and other things with certain people, that's what you have to be. All right. We will talk more about what happened with Pepsi and that jet next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio today, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 115, discussing the documentary on Netflix, Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
I remember this contest well, man.
Did you actually try and save?
It was a big deal. No, but I remember seeing the jet commercials
were everywhere.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was because was this like mid 90s? So I was in my teens. I don't think at this point, I don't even think I was even trying to collect stuff because you kind of early on, you understand that, I don't think I drink enough. Maybe I'll get a cool Pepsi sunglass.
Get a pair. Yeah, I figured Pepsi shades would look good on you. Yeah.
But basically, this dude saw the commercial, and in the commercial, as a tongue-in-cheek, which at least that's what Pepsi claimed, they would show a jet at the end, like you could save enough to get a jet.
7 million points, and you'd get a Harrier jet.
Estimated at the time, the jet's value was like 32 million. So this dude basically does the math and figures that you're able to purchase Pepsi points, which is what you could use to purchase these items at, I think it was 10 cents each. So he basically said that you could get 7 million points, which is what you needed to get this jet for $700,000. Math works out. So he goes and gets investors. All the investors are like, you know
Brilliant
what?
plan.
Dude, let's do this.
Yeah, he
Let's
found some cool older guys that had money, man.
And honestly, like it makes sense because you caught Pepsi with their hands down. There's no disclaimer in the commercial that says, hey, this jet thing isn't serious. We don't actually have a jet. It's just it's just to sell the thing home that, you could get a jet, but it's not.
And a lot of times you can get a cash value for a prize instead. Yeah. So you figure from an investor point of view, wait a minute, 700,000, $32 million, even if we got 20 million, that's a huge return. Why not take a gamble?
Yeah, why not take the gamble? and sometimes in investments, they are gambles. And that's exactly what this guy did. But after getting the points and turning it in to get the
mailing it in.
Yeah. Which I mean, he could have done it the other way, but maybe he was just trying to make it look as legitimate as possible.
It was a great story on mailing the whole $700,000 check in,
But oh god, I can't even. Sometimes getting records that are worth a couple $100 or sending them through the mail, you're just like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. But that's why you get insurance. I'm sure he had to get insurance for that. I mean, he had to. Well, I guess if it was a check, you would just cancel it later on if it went missing.
It's super sketchy, dude.
But I don't know, man. That kind of money through the U.S. mail, not to knock the U.S. mail. I don't know if I would trust anyone other than myself to take it where it needed to go, so I could hand it to the person with a picture, taking a picture saying it's leaving my hand into their hand now. Like that's the assurance that I would need
dice for sure
with that kind of money. We will get to what Pepsi told him and the fallout next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. .7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 115, discussing Pepsi. Where's my jet? So the guy mails in a $700,000 check of Pepsi points for a jet.
Pepsi gets it and laughs and says, "Here you go. Here's a free case of Pepsi, kid.
I know.
Nice try."
They're like, "No, dude, that's not going to work." So, and I think this was part of the plan the whole time. The guy's like, all right, we're going to go to court. Initially they sued him in New York, but I guess because they wanted a better venue or something, they ended up moving it to Miami. This guy hired, you may know this man because of his,
he's been in the news lately.
He's been in the news very recently with his association with the former U.S. President Donald Trump. And of course, Stormy Daniels, because he represented her. Michael Avenatti, is that how you say his name? Avenatti? Something
Avenari,
like that?
Avenari, I think.
Avenatti.
Yeah.
Anyway,
who's by the way on house arrest in this documentary?
That was funny.
What?
But this guy's law stuff goes back to this. I mean, he had already been involved.
Yeah, he had been in some high profile deals.
So Leonard goes with this guy, and if you ever want to look up the case, it's Leonard versus PepsiCo Inc. But basically, they transferred it to federal court. And then I guess the Pentagon had to go so far as to make an announcement saying we do not sell military jets to the public. They have to be demilitarized before they're actually even put out, because you got to take out some of the equipment, some of the stuff we don't want other countries to have. Which I thought,
but you can own one if it doesn't have missiles. We found that out. You actually could own one.
There are ways to get them, but they're not cheap. And at that point, I think you should just buy your own commercial jet. But whatever. So inevitably, the court would rule in favor of Pepsi, which honestly, it could have gone either way.
And I was hoping it would. I always root for the underdog, man.
Oh yeah, and again, this had it worked, would have been one hell of a ruse by this guy to pull this off. But Jay, before we talked about it, made a good point. He's like, well, they actually offered to settle at one point.
Yeah, they did for quite a bit of money.
And it would have been a lot of money because ultimately they caught them with their pants down. There's a reason you have to listen to our disclaimers. And if you enter a contest, that's a lot of money.
They went and changed the ad.
Yeah, they changed the ad to add, hey, you can't get this. And if you look at ads like that and they do it in the future, they have a disclaimer. There's disclaimers everywhere. You got to cover your ass. And this definitely proved that, because, you know, someone, if they have the means and catches you with your pants down, they'll try to sue you just because they know the end goal is to get a lot of money. And this guy almost got it. Now, the reason I believe he didn't settle was because he did have those investors who, when you invest in a company and that company tells you, you give me this and I'll give you this much percent, or I'll give you this ROI, you've got to do everything you can to get that ROI.
You got to try.
And ultimately, I think that's what he didn't, because at the end of the day, if he had settled, let's say, all his investors are going to say, look, what you're giving me beyond my investment isn't enough and not what you promised. So he could have gotten in trouble with them. So he had to go all in. And then at the end of the day, say that we lost, and you lost and it's done. You know what I mean? He definitely had to pay a lot of money for legal fees. I'll tell you that much. That whole process of going to court is not cheap. But we'll be back with what lessons we learned and how many Pepsi points we give this documentary next, while Jay sleeps with his eyes open. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 115, discussing Pepsi. Where's my jet? I give it 3.5 Pepsi points.
3.5. 3.5 sounds about right.
Yeah. Typical interesting
I was
story.
hoping he would get the jet or get the money, but it didn't work out. But it was good. The story was funny and well made. I think whoever made this, we've watched their work before because they had that same vibe.
Yeah. You said these companies that are kind of getting into the documentary game, after we've watched so many of these things, you can start to see the style.
You can see the ones you like and the ones you don't like. Yeah.
But it was like I said, it was great. I thought it was a really good idea, really good plan. Could have worked. It didn't, obviously. But definitely an interesting story nonetheless. And I think the lesson here is that the lawyers always win.
Yeah.
That's no matter what happens, there's always a winner, and that's the damn lawyers.
Scratch the bass player part, kids. Go to school to be a lawyer.
Yeah, go be a lawyer if you want to be. All right, Jay, what is the documentary we're watching next?
Well, we watch a lot of documentaries about men killing women. So I figured let's flip the script. Let's talk about one of a woman that kills a man. Killer Sally.
Killer Sally, which was suggested to us through our Facebook
somebody
channel.
messaged us and said, "Hey, have you done Dark Stream on Killer Sally yet?" I said, "No, but we're probably coming." So
now we're going to do it. And as always, you can suggest them there. You can suggest them on our website. Shoot me or Jay an email.
Yeah, if you find a gem,
hit me up.
We'd love to find it.
Helps us. We kind of get in a rut sometimes, and we have to go watch Killer Crimes from Outer Space or something. We don't want to do that again. As always, you can stream these online, 1047thecave.com, through our 104.7 The Cave app as a free podcast. Watch us live on Facebook every Thursday at 9 or on YouTube. I'm Mike the Intern. This is Jay Stevens reminding you, we watch movies so you don't have to. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.